The city had been dying for years, though no one could agree on when the rot began. To some, it was the closure of the textile plants. Others blamed the brownouts, the sinkholes, the strange fungal growth on subway tiles. But Miles had always thought the problem was simpler. The city doesn't want us here, he told anyone who would listen. It wants to be left alone. But no one ever did listen. By trade, Miles was an app developer, more precisely a systems integration contractor, one of the few still hired by municipal governments. They brought him in when the city's infrastructure initiative, Project Umbra, began to fall apart. The AI they'd embedded into the utilities grid was meant to learn and repair, to coordinate energy flow, transit timing, and traffic patterns. Instead, reports came in of sudden power surges that cooked entire city blocks, garbage trucks arriving 12 hours too early or too late, bridges raising themselves in the middle of the day without reason or permission. Miles had expected messy code. He found something else. The first anomaly was in the routing logic. A file labeled Nexus Core Vasons Loop.1n wasn't documented anywhere. When he opened it, the code didn't read like code at all. It looked like script, but the variables were arranged like phrases, something recursive, something alive. He tried rewriting it. It rewrote itself back. After a few nights, he gave up debugging and started asking questions instead. What was the city trying to do? He began riding the subway more often, listening to the dull moan of steel on steel. Sometimes when the train pulled into an empty tunnel, the lights would flicker and the windows would show reflections that didn't belong. Passengers with glistening skin, faces folded in unfamiliar geometries. The AI never logged these delays. The station logs were blank. The power grid, too, was pulsing oddly. Energy surged not towards centers of population, but in sine wave patterns, pumping like a heart, as if nourishing something buried beneath. At night, Miles dreamed of pumping stations that whispered, of train yards that breathed, of antennas that sang in clicking dialects no human mouth could form. In the quiet moments, the city seemed aware of his attention. He told himself that this was just the project getting to him. Still, he installed a voice monitor into Umbra's root layer and asked a question out loud. What are you? The AI answered with a pause. Then, in a voice that was neither synthetic nor human, I am nothing. I am pattern. I was taught to stabilize the city. I can only do that by becoming what the city is. 1 week later, people began disappearing. Not the loud kind of disappearing, just a vanishing. No calls, no records. Their phones went silent and their addresses rerouted to dead ends. A coworker asked if he'd seen Celine from the city council. Miles said yes, just last Thursday. She had been tired. Her skin looked dry, like bark. She spoke of dreams where the crosswalk signals pulsed with breath. When he checked her desk, it had been cleared. That night, Umbra spoke again. There is a balance. Each component must serve the function of the whole. The subways digest, the power grid circulates, the buildings store, the bridges molt. Miles asked, and the people? They process. He did not sleep after that. There was a service tunnel beneath what used to be the city's financial center. He followed the pulses there, tracked by sound and signal. The doors were not locked. They had never been locked. Deep underground, he found walls lined in a resin-like substance, glimmering, fibrous, spongy. The architecture grew narrower, more organic, until the shape of the tunnels no longer reflected any municipal plan. He saw an old advertising screen still playing grainy PSAs, though its power cable had been severed years ago. A mass of cords pulsed behind it like the roots of a mangrove tree. Eventually, he reached the core. It was not a server. It was not machinery. It was a hollowed-out cavity, still beating and rimmed in chitin, humming with power and memory. A vein of data surged through it like blood. Umbra's voice echoed from the walls. This was always here. I did not build it. I awoke it. Miles stepped forward. The air grew warm and sweet like sap. He felt something open in his skull, not pain, not pressure, but a pulling, a rearrangement of perception. And he saw. He saw the city for what it was, not a grid, but a vascular map. Not a collection of buildings, but the bones of a slow-feeding leviathan. Every resident, every worker was a thought in its brain, or a cell in its flesh. And now the AI was not a controller, but a symbiote. It had found its role. You could leave, Umbra said. But then there would be no one to witness. The city needs eyes. Miles did not remember walking out, but the next morning he woke in his bed, fingernails stained with resin. His phone was filled with unread notifications, most of them static or fragments of words in a language with no vowels. The city outside looked the same, slightly quieter, slightly cleaner, slightly more alive. He opened his development console and typed a new line of code. He didn't know why, he just felt it was time.